So well, first off, we should probably just I'm sure everyone knows what LA Noire is about. It's about you play as a cop named Cole Phelps, who's making his way, trying to make a name for himself, I guess, in the LAPD and what 20s, 30s, 40s.
I think it's the 40s.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And so it was back at a different time, before Rodney King and everything like that with the LAPD. So a little bit further back, but there was different rules back then, and anyway, a bit more corruption and stuff like that. So
back in the good old days.
Yeah, back in the good old days, with the Constitution, it was a little bit more lax. But let's talk about the story. Did you end up finishing it or
No.
No, I don't think it's worth finishing. I did finish it last week, and
wow,
it's the story is good. It's good, but it's just not there's not as good as other stuff.
Yep.
There was as I said, you start off as a up and comer sort of thing. You're also getting flashbacks. Cop. Yeah, but then there's also flashbacks to Cole was in the. Would you say Vietnam War?
No, it was.
No, that would be.
It was like World War One.
World War One. Yeah. So World War One, and there's a bit of a backstory to him, and he's considered this hero, but he's not really a hero and it's explained why in the story towards at the end. But I think the problem with the story is that I didn't really find Cole as that much of an interesting sort of character.
No, he's boring. He's
very dull. He's perceived as very straight-laced, but he's not an endearing character at all. There's nothing that makes him interesting.
Yeah, he's very no frills. He's very straight-laced and
by the book and that. And
yeah, it's like you said, he's not an endearing character. I didn't want to know more about him. He was just something that I was moving around.
Yeah, I didn't give a shit about his backstory.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get to the end of it, and the other characters around him was sort of more interesting, sort of thing. And that's a big problem because you're spending this whole game with him. So we'll move on to the gameplay then. So let's talk about the investigating part of it. You mentioned last week or the week before about how it holds your hand.
Yeah.
Especially during the actual when you're investigating crime scenes and
yes.
Where the controller will vibrate when you stumble upon
when you're close to a clue or something.
Or something interactable.
Yeah.
And you're definitely right that the only part of the actual investigating part, and the music stops as well when
when you found all the clues.
So something else is out there.
Yeah.
Because the music's still going, and it's it's a bit. You're definitely right. It's more of a hand-holding sort of experience rather than an actual something like something like the CSI games where, or even though in that you're just looking for a pixel that changes the color of the cursor to find a clue, but
at least you're actually looking. You're not just aiming your dude at something until you get the vibration.
Yeah. So it's not really until the interrogation parts where you've actually got to think, because in that interrogation parts you've got to decide whether what someone is saying is either truth or you doubt them. Which we don't have any evidence, or And it's funny because I always tended to ask. I did the intuition points where you get intuition points, and really, if they had dodgy eyes, the only thing would take away was truth, which didn't help at all.
Yeah,
it was like a fucking Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, 50-50 question.
Yeah,
it's always the two answers that
the two most obvious ones that it could be.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the same in this, and. Yeah, I mean, what was your take on the interrogation sort of part of it?
I thought the interrogation was really well done. I like how you have to put the clues together. You have to, question them about one thing, get them riled up, and then go into the book and get another, another piece of evidence against them.
Yeah, backing up what you sort of.
Yeah, I thought that
claiming.
was pretty well done. It was just the facial animations again had me like floored on this game. They were amazing. So this is the only game that they could actually do this sort of system with.
Mm-hmm.
If they tried it with anything else, it would have to be like pre-rendered cutscenes or just actual film.
Yep.
But I thought they were impressive, and they were fun because you had to actually, use your brain and put things together.
Yeah, it did. They did a great job, especially with some of the, I guess, more prominent characters in the game who it was very hard to tell if they were lying or not. It was I think really the only time you had to sort of put it all together. So the investigation part was just purely just finding stuff until the music stopped, and then the interrogation part was where you put it all together, and that was probably the more interesting part of the game. But unfortunately, I think that's probably the only interesting part of it, because the rest of it was sort of a bit more generic in terms of, say, the fighting parts, where you would just sort of dodge punches and then throw a couple and land it, and then that was that part. And even the shooting sections weren't sort of anything exciting. I think the fighting and the shooting was done like you've called it. This is the B version of Mafia 2.
Yeah, the B side to Mafia 2.
Yeah, Mafia 2 did both those things probably a lot more interesting. Even the fighting, which I wasn't a fan of in Mafia 2, was done. It was done better than I thought in that compared to LA Noire. So.
Yeah.
Even the driving and the car chases, I really fucking hated.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of driving in video games, so I think any time where you're given a car from the 40s, which has terrible handling to start with, I'm not going to be a fan.
I found myself just skipping.
Yeah.
All those sections, like where you had to drive to crime scenes and other places of interest.
Yeah.
I'll just hold the triangle button down and the other guy would drive.
Yeah.
And I was doing that every single time I could.
Yeah.
So the only time I drove was during the car chase scenes or where I had to tail somebody, which is never fun.
Yeah.
So I mean that was also like disappointing itself. So I mean the really, to me, the only interesting part of this game was the interrogation part. And, I didn't think the story was great, and I didn't think it didn't. I think it's just the completionist in me that wanted me to get to the end of it.
Yeah.
And I managed to, but I didn't think. It doesn't make me want to pick up the DLC or anything like that.
I didn't even feel that I had to complete it. I got the last mission I played was the moon one, the quarter moon killer or whatever it is. 3 moon killer or something like that.
I can't remember that one.
The one with the maze.
Yeah, that sort of sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Is that when you were going? Yeah, so you were driving to all the different landmarks.
Yeah, there was the tar pits and the maze and the old church.
Yeah. So you got pretty close to the end. There was only I think you might have even been on the last part. There's one more after that. Oh no, that's Quarter Moon. That was wasn't arson, was it? That was the Dahlia dude, wasn't it?
Oh, that was Vice, I think.
No, I think that was even.
Oh, Murder. That's right.
Yeah, that was the Dahlia one. So
yeah.
After that was Vice, and Vice was when he got. We'll say spoiler alert, but Vice was when he got sort of set up.
Yeah, he fell from grace.
Yeah. But even then I just didn't give a shit. It was nothing. I didn't really care that he got set up. I didn't really care what happened to him.
Yeah, he's not an endearing character at all. Like he's I tried to think of him as like a brilliant detective with like Asperger's syndrome or something, so you couldn't get close to him. I hated him. I wanted to punch him in his face. Like, just he's an annoying bastard. Like
So-
with Mafia 2, I was instantly like endeared to most of the characters. They
Yeah.
were really well done, but in this, like, there's just nothing.
Because your character was cool, and so was the guy you were hanging out with. I can't remember his name, but it's probably Anthony or
Yeah,
something
Vinny
like
or
that.
something like that.
yeah. So, but those characters, yeah, definitely had. I was a lot more interested in, and yeah, the characters I was interested in this were more your partners, like that you're partnering up with. They were more interesting to me than Cole.
Yeah.
So I just had, I had no interest in that, but so I'm hoping that, well. I don't want to say, but I'm hoping in the sequel, I hope they take it in a different direction. And so that I'm gonna still say probably a recommended, just to check out.
Yeah, it's good to play. Like, it's good to know what people are talking about.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a not recommended. I just
No.
wouldn't highly recommend it at all.
No.
So it's if you get around to it, then check it out. But there's definitely a lot of better games out there at the moment. So
Indeed.